I took so many pictures. I got a brand new
Yeah, I thought it was pretty
Nikon
fun.
camera that went with me, so.
Oh, the camera?
Gorgeous. I had a 1,000 times zoom on this thing.
Thanks.
I can show you the rings of Saturn on the
I think
camera.
we're live.
Okay, we're live.
We are recording.
Ready? All right, we're live, everyone.
We're ready.
Okay, should I call
Bang the
it?
gavel.
All right, gang, we're gonna get this thing rolling. I'm filling in for Brian tonight as proxy for the chair here, so
But I want to help out.
bring the meeting to order. Kathy, would you mind calling roll call, please?
Marcia Carrington. Here. Sean Daly.
Here.
Robin Lloyd. Here. Chris Parthamore.
Here.
Adam Ramsdale. Brian Stanley. Cable Steineman. Jordan Sternberg.
Here.
Martha Weichel.
I'm working on getting Martha keyed in with Teams, so we'll let everybody know when she's here, assuming that works.
Blake Harris.
Here.
Michelle Newell.
Here.
Aaron Blair.
Here.
Great, thanks, Kathy. And then does this represent a quorum that we're in right now? Yes? Okay, good, thank you. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. And a second. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. We had just one round of minutes this time, right? Did we not have two this time? Okay, good. All right. All right, so I guess we'll start on current business with the City Hall gallery submission review. I'll put that over to maybe Aaron to kick off or lead the discussion there.
Do we have to vote on those minutes?
Oh, do we have to vote on the minutes? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I skipped it.
All right. Marcia Carrington.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sean Daly.
Yes.
Robin Lloyd.
Yes.
Chris Parthamore.
Yes.
Jordan Sternberg.
Yes.
Martha Weichel. Blake Harris.
Yes.
Michelle Newell.
Yes.
Aaron Blair.
Yes.
All right, fast forward back to current business.
I can get you on, okay. Everybody should see that presentation pop up. Can you all
Yes.
see?
There
Okay,
it is.
so we received a number of submissions for the City Hall Gallery, and I compiled those, sent it out to everybody, and created a Google form so we could collect scores. And tonight I'll present the results of the total scores of all of those submissions, and hopefully we can select the next round of art to be considered in the City Hall Gallery. So I'll give a review of that quickly. First, Adam Broulette's Bring Them Along. This is a very large piece. It's about 5 feet by 6 feet. So if we select this one, we should be careful where we place it because it is a narrow hallway, but it did score highly at 490 points. Really, these are all in like measures of 10. Allison Pence, Sandusky Connected, also scored 49. Charlotte Lease sent in 6 different pieces. The scores range from 42 to 49. I also asked because last year there was a preference to select multiple pieces from a few artists to help gauge the interest in selecting multiple pieces from artists that submitted multiple pieces. Here there were 3 strong preferences for that and 3 moderate preferences for that. So generally we only got 8 responses. So 6 out of 8 people said, yes, let's do multiple pieces from Charlotte. The suggestions that people typed in included Nature Trails 2, which is the number 1 image on this slide, and Summer Song, which is the number 6 image on this slide. Another suggestion was 1, 2, 5, and 6. Which don't correspond to the numbers on this slide. Hold on, or they do. Let me make sure.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so they would correspond. I put them in the same order. I try to keep everything in the same order. Okay. One said was preferred not Organ Pipe nor Summer Song, but they like the other ones. And then one said Nature Trail 3 and Wetlands 5. Hallie Davis submitted a number of pieces. Those scores ranged from 34 to 38, so they were not in some of the highest scoring. 4 people indicated no preference for multiple pieces and 1 had strong preference. 2 did not answer. The 1 suggestion for multiple pieces was Poppies and Untitled 1, which is the number 2 on the slide, and maybe Untitled 2, which is the number 3 on the slide. Jen Robinson submitted Sandusky Thriving and Reviving and with a total score of 29. Jenny Souter submitted 9 pieces. I went ahead, we had a limit of 5, but I just included all the ones that people submitted. These are all 8 by 8. They're all in the same color scheme, and they ranged from 43 to, 38 was the lowest, and then 48 looks like was the highest. So a big range here. There were 3 strong preferences and 2 moderate preferences for selecting multiple pieces from Jenny, and then we had a similar kind of selection of multiple pieces, some specific notes for which ones to include and which ones not. I didn't do any analysis on like how many people said the same thing. I figured we just use that for our discussion points to move forward. Kylie Frederick submitted a painting in progress, Growing Pains. This is the photo she submitted at the very beginning. She was among the first round of submissions before the previous meeting, and I did follow up and ask her for a finished picture, and she said that she would send it on Friday, and it was almost finished, and I did not receive another photo from her. This total score is 37. Pamela Jean Hatfield submitted a photograph of Cedar Point Sky and scored 49. And Danielle Herrera submitted 2. These are pieces made out of cloth and different fibers, is my understanding. And Honest Abe and Frederick Douglass, these were the 2 highest scoring pieces in all of the submitted works. I did put all of the top scoring pieces, so we have in green is basically from 49 up. It's first selection, so you see both of Danny Herrera's, a couple of Charlotte Lease's, the Adam Burlett, Allison Pence, and Pamela Jean Hatfield, the photograph. And then in the next round, in the yellow, in the from 40 to 48, you'll see a number of the Jenny Souders and more of the Charlotte Lease's. And then in the lower scoring ones on the right were the Hallie Davis and Jen Robinson. There was the preferences, so I went ahead and included the totals because Excel did it for me anyway. There was the preferences for multiple pieces from Charlotte Lease scored higher than preference for multiple pieces from Jenny Souter. And just for reference, our current gallery contains 10 pieces, although 2 of those pieces are multiple items. I wasn't sure how to articulate that. So there's 18 total items displayed. There's 5 artists represented in the current gallery. And I thought it would be helpful for us to just have that reference in front of us as we were selecting. I don't have concern that we will run out of space. I mean, obviously we can't accept every single one, but we have quite a bit of space. I think we could clutter the hallway. It feels kind of narrow if we maximize it and don't give anybody some room. So there will be some, I will have to like measure all the ones and make sure they're gonna fit at what we select and everything. And if it might be nice to vote on our favorites and what we want to move forward with, and then give me like a point person like the chair or a couple people to like, if we have to make small adjustments, I can just, like a subcommittee can make those decisions and then report to you next month. So we don't have to wait until next month if any changes are made. And I think that could be a good thing to move forward with, if that makes sense.
It sounds reasonable. Especially you mentioned the hallway and cluttering and being narrow. I mean, I think of this one, and I don't, it's not like a criticism on the piece. It's like 58 by 68 inches. Like viewing distance, is that going to be massive, like in like scale of the hallway and many things that we should probably consider. But what's the committee think? Do we want to make a smaller group and then kind of crunch on the like what the how we should proceed if it's top 10 or selection of a certain group, or maybe put that out for discussion.
Looks like it's pretty clear that those top 2, everybody's on board with.
Right.
Frederick Douglass and Honest Abe. After that, I would say a smaller committee.
Okay.
I mean, like these 2 have the experience in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to volunteer for anything.
Yeah, well, for me, I was looking at the Sutter pieces, and she had, 9 in there. I was looking at that as almost like taking it and making it, because they're only 8 by 8s, so they're pretty small. Mm-hmm. But if you took those, like you could take like, I don't know, 6 of them and just run 2, 2, and 2, and then create, because she's same tones, same subject matter, same everything. If the artist is fine with it, I would consider taking that and making her pieces, even, it's like 6 pieces, but it's actually, it looks like 1 piece.
Yeah.
So,
Hanging system would allow that,
Would it?
as long as they've got a wire on the back, because it basically, there's a clasp that hooks onto the wire and holds it in place so it won't slide up and down. So I could just put, we could put 3 on 1 wire.
okay, and it wouldn't take up that, well, right there's 9,
Assuming
just
how-
like that. So there's 9 just like that. You could just take it and make one little block out of it, and it's not gonna take up that much space, and then there's 9 of your top ones in a little itty bitty section.
Yeah, because like you're still only, what, 2 by 2,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
take
not
up any
much.
room. It's just more pieces. So, and then when you go back and look at that list of things, then you just knock 9 of them straight off the top 10 in a 2-foot section.
Marcia, what do you think?
I probably wouldn't do all 9 personally, but that's just me.
6?
Huh?
Like 6?
Yeah,
Yeah, initially I said 6, but I'm
6
just
on the vertical.
yeah.
I think there's a couple of them that don't really make sense, so I think 6 is a nice number, but like I said, these two have good opinions
Yeah.
and experience on this.
Would you like to entertain the idea of considering, like, which of the top 10 or the top
Absolutely.
selections here, and then we'll be presenting that at the next discussion?
Well, I think obviously the ones that got the highest score from Danny are definite. I don't know how you want to hang those, but something like that shouldn't be right next to something like this
Right.
because of the color, scheme.
Well,
And personally, I really like that really big piece.
I
but
love that
know-
piece,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do too. I know in the hallway, you can't really get away from something like that.
Could it be at the end of the hallway, we have a standoff distance instead of on the, length, we only have as width of the hallway, but
Don't have any space, we don't have the hanging system installed at the end of the hallway. The best location, I think, if we wanted to see how this would work, and I can frame it out and measure it, is right at the beginning, because you're gonna end up, let me go back to our existing gallery. So right now, the lion and the Ohio wooden piece are like right here when you walk into City Hall. So they have the longest viewing range when you come in the door, because you can look across the lobby and see those. So they don't quite feel like they're right up on you in the hallway. I think if we did select that one, it would almost have to be probably where the lion is. I don't think it would fit where the Ohio sculpture is right now, because there's a light switch and a planter, and I don't think we've got the 5 feet in between the two. I didn't measure yet. So,
One with the ducks on it.
yeah, the one with the ducks on it is 5 feet wide.
The funny thing is, I would have liked to have seen that one on West Marine.
As part of the mural.
That would have been great. That would have been a
Yeah.
fantastic
So
mural.
I will say that Adam he had emailed me immediately when we did the vinyl mural program, and he said, if you could take that budget and I could get you 5 full wall murals for $25,000, why don't you pay the artists and not do the vinyl mural? And so I explained a little bit about why we chose that, getting people used to the murals, and knowing that choosing a permanent piece of art would be a much more difficult endeavor when we didn't have a lot of murals in town. We went the vinyl route, and we want to see more murals, and et cetera. So we had a conversation then. Like, he's definitely really interested in Sandusky, and he also owns a house and has artist studios and does public art consulting, and was kind of on my radar. If we have somebody come talk to us about public art, I think he'd be a good one to invite to the city. So he's definitely engaged. That might have been, I heard a little beep. Let me see if that's Martha trying to get in.
I have a question about that. Is there any things that are in City Hall, if there's something that we absolutely love, couldn't that become a mural at some point? Could we invite an artist to have something that's in City Hall become a mural?
Yeah, I
Like-
think
I think that's actually.
we would have to find a location for it and funding for it, and yeah.
It works with scale.
I mean, even if it's the next round, like
Yeah.
even that Frederick Douglass, because Frederick Douglass spoke here and.
Assuming that that artist is a mural painter, or you're saying that we could commission a
Or-
Frederick Douglass mural.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's within, we're gonna talk about the 2023 work plan, and we can talk about some.
It was ripped to
Yeah.
shreds.
No.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, it's down now.
With
But,
the-
yeah.
with the,
The Frederick
uh,
Douglass
stickers,
that was
right?
in the bus
Same
stop.
thing.
Oh, yeah, those were implemented differently than I would have implemented them.
Those were.
Many of them, they were quite small, and they were applied over top of the mullions of the windows of the bus shelters instead of completely within a window, so they just peeled very, very.
Go waiting for them, just take pieces off.
So do we want to kind of have a smaller subcommittee come together and plan out the selections for the City Hall Art Gallery and then reconvene at a later date? Is that something we might want to, instead of getting into the minutia here?
I mean, I think it would be nice that if we don't have to come back for a vote, because then we're gonna have to wait a whole nother month, it'd be nice to have a vote on something. Maybe it's like, yes on Danny Herrera, yes on a selection of Souders, and yes on a couple other things, and then work out the fine details with the subcommittee with Marcia and Robin. I feel like that could be,
I will make a motion to have a small committee make the final decision on this with the caveat that the Herrera ones are in there. There's 6 of the one from the other artist, and that they take the rankings heavily into consideration.
I would second that.
Very good. Well, sounds like that's settled, and it will be handled by the subcommittee.
Call for a yay and make sure you don't get any nays.
Sure, sure. So do we want to do,
Do you get to second that?
Do I get to say, I'm a voting member.
Okay,
and
just
then-
checking. Cover it.
do we want to do go through roll
You know,
call?
that's fair. So if anybody else wants to second it and then have me on the record seconding it, that's fine.
Should we go through roll call to get everybody's opinion on that? Please, Kathy. Thank you.
Marcia Carrington.
Yes.
Sean Daly.
Yes.
Robin Lloyd.
Yes.
Chris Parthmore.
Yes.
Jordan Sternberg.
Yes.
Martha Weichel. Blake Harris.
Yes.
Michelle Newell.
Yes.
Aaron Blair.
Yes.
And just to clarify, is the subcommittee Marcia and Robin, or who is the subcommittee? Did we decide on that?
I'm willing to.
I'm fine with it, as long as I
Who's
don't
the
have to do it in the next week.
Okay, as long as Marcia doesn't have to do it in the next week.
Someone-
She has,
I gotta have some surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, it's
I wasn't
also
aiming that at you guys. I
Thanksgiving.
was more saying like, who is our subcommittee?
Does anybody
We
else
didn't-
want to be on it?
Yeah, is there anybody that wants to volunteer?
What day? What,
I would follow up and talk about how if we want to meet in person or over the phone and when. And with the goal being the final decisions made before the next meeting so we can report to the full commission of what decisions are and maybe even get it hung by then. We'll see. That's ambitious.
One thing that we could do, Robin, is take the space, the dimensions, and actually superimpose the images to size, in Photoshop or something, so you
Yeah.
get a good idea of what it
but
looks like.
what's really awesome is I just counted this up. All the top scoring pieces, there's 17 top scoring pieces of them, and 6 of them are the Sutter pieces. So that literally only leaves 11. So, but the one's ginormous. So it's just a matter of finding and figuring everything out.
But you're talking about with the Sutter pieces, putting them over one another, so.
Yeah, just within,
Yeah.
well,
So
they're
they're-
only 8 by 8, so
Yeah.
16 if you spaced them like an inch apart, so you're looking at 1 to 2 inches, so you're looking at like 17, 18 inches wide, and then that's it. So,
So maybe
Or
somebody
anyone else
makes
that
a
wants to be on that committee,
motion
get in
to,
touch with Aaron.
yeah, do we need a motion
I
to
think we should probably
designate the
decide that so it doesn't turn-
subcommittee? So
Let's decide
sounds
that
like
here, so that way it doesn't turn into like, okay, who's on first?
Ms. Newell, did you want to be, you're looking like you're a maybe, you're on the fence about being involved in that?
I start junior arts on the 29th, so if it's before the 29th, before Thanksgiving.
You mean it has to be done?
For
before-
Thanksgiving? That's,
Yeah, no.
that's,
No, it's not
that's,
No.
that's not gonna happen.
Or it could be, let's see, when's our next meeting?
next meeting would be December 20th, so we'd be looking at the week of the December 5th or December 12th to meet. So maybe,
Yeah, I could do it, just as long as it's not on a Wednesday.
okay, so Ms. Newell, schedule allowing,
Ms. Carrington and Ms. Lloyd to be the committee.
What was that?
Make a motion to make for Ms. Lloyd, Ms. Carrington, and Ms. Knoll to be the committee.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna move somebody, Chris has moved to make Michelle, Marcia, and Robin the subcommittee. Let's maybe go through the quick version, so is there a second to that first?
Oh, second.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do a short.
I was waiting for somebody else and you could have put me on the spot.
Can we do the all in favor version, Kathy, of that maybe? All in favor, I guess, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries, and we have some subcommittee members. Great.
But we'll go on the record that I owe them around for putting them on a committee.
It's all good, it's all
Noted
good.
in the minutes.
The only thing is, can I get a copy of the top? Like, can we get a copy of like the
I can
top
see
sheet?
the whole presentation.
Perfect.
Here we go.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to other current business, the 2023 work plan prioritization.
Okay. So I sent some notes. We did just a really high-level brainstorm on what we think are the strengths and the challenges and opportunities of the Arts Commission and the things that we want to accomplish. I sent some notes on that. My perspective and kind of one of the things I launched with is from a staff capacity, I don't have the capacity to take on another program. Like we initiated 2 new programs this year, the vinyl mural program, which we're gonna get completely hung everything by spring. There are 2 in place right now if you haven't seen those. They are at the West Marine Building is up and the one by Clubhouse number 3 in Macaroot. And 10 by 15 is real big, y'all, so to go see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do some game time changes on which one was gonna go there because it was not gonna fit on the building where Tim Dorsey's is. And so I did make the executive decision to move it to another building that I already had a waiver. And I was running around like a woman with a chick, like, because the crew was out there, like getting the building owner's approval to put a different art on the one that anyway, it all worked out.
Great job.
2 of them are up. And
Which 2 again?
it's Disruptive Darkness
Yeah.
up on the West Marine Building, and then North Star is up on the Clubhouse number 3,
Okay.
John Pike's building. That's it's kind of tucked in, but it looks really cool. So
Just shared a Facebook post on the one while I was on the road, but I was excited.
yeah,
So
yeah.
haven't got a chance to see
And
anything.
they installed them fantastically. It's a multiple sheets that they knit together. You can't see the seams. There's like a tiny little hole because a gust of wind almost destroyed the entire thing, the Disrupted Darkness one, which is fitting because of the content of that one. But they're gonna come back and patch it.
It's art itself.
Yes, and they were confident that those got enough sunshine and they were gonna do okay, and then we'll install all the other 4 once the weather cracks in the springtime. And I will make sure that all the sites are measured and we're good to go. But I've got all the art approved by all the owners. I had to swap a couple and give you updates on that. And so we're in motion on those. And then we have the one art box was successful and it's finished, and that's out at Sycamore Line. And the artist, I think I shared this last time too, she got people like honking and cheering and stopping and offering her jobs and telling her how cool they think it is and this is the most amazing thing. And she told this whole story and she created a presentation on her experience to share with other artists.
That's
and
great.
she would happily have a round table to talk with them about what she learned when we get other artists that want to do those. So I do.
Little Italy one?
That's the Little Italy one. So I do hope that that one will stir up some more interest to do more of those projects. So I suggested that we really pick like one thing to focus on next year, like one bigger project. And since the Columbus Avenue streetscape is in the time frame of being able to start in construction in 2023, a lot of our conversation was surrounded by, well, how do we want to go about choosing what the public art looks like on Columbus Avenue? And there's probably going to be fundraising outside of what the Arts Commission budget is, so it can be like a really impactful piece. And there was conversation about Brian and I being able to go talk with whoever is needed and try to see what kind of fundraising and like budget capacity we might have, and maybe the Arts Commission would fund a consultant to help organize that process next year to really facilitate what are we gonna put there, where's it gonna go, what is it gonna be, how big is it, like, what's the artist, how to commission artists, that's out of, I think, most of our wheelhouse and not something that we do every day. So that was one of the conversations we had. I
Can I
have,
touch base real quick if you're gonna?
Yeah.
Like, start thinking about that? I think that it's a good idea for us to fund a consultant, but when this program first started, there was a consultant that was brought in that was not liked very much by the Arts Commission. So I think that if you're looking at doing some of that stuff, like maybe have a couple of them and like bring that to us and see if, we're interested in which consultant.
oh, did you not get a say on what consultant got
Oh,
selected?
no.
Interesting.
No,
That's
she just
generally
showed
not,
up.
The consultant that was
How-
selected was the one that helped onboard the program.
Yes.
And like, it was kind of
okay.
like, we were the result of the fruits of the
Okay.
labor, and they commissioned us to be our own
Okay.
entity. And so there was some.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
well, I think that if we did go about hiring a consultant, what I would suggest we do is put out a request for proposals and have a committee, a smaller committee, and probably some other city leadership and maybe a couple people strategically that we know in the community might be
Yes.
potential funders or know other people that might be philanthropic, and build a selection committee to interview a couple teams and choose a consultant. And that's a process that I'm very familiar with as a former consultant and having done that with the Columbus Avenue project and Southside Plan and everything. So that would be my suggestion, is that the Arts Commission would definitely be involved in selecting that and guiding that process.
I did reach out to Phyllis and to Liz Larner in LA, because I know Phyllis is working with public art in a committee right now, but she's in Europe right now, and I haven't heard from Liz Larner. But again, I mean, if you had connections with them, then they could be presented to everyone as to who to go with. Or
I just spent 47 days literally on this whole art trip. I have so many artist names and and everything. People are interested in coming here. I've been people from Santa Fe to Massachusetts.
Cool.
Like, I've really got like some great connections now. That's
That's
stuff
exciting.
that we haven't seen
That's
before.
exciting.
So I'm super pumped.
Well, one of the challenges that we identified in the conversation last time was our outreach process and reaching a broader audience and really knowing who's out there and how to get really high quality submissions that we're really excited about. And I think that we got a great turnout for the vinyl mural program, but we're still kind of waiting on the art box program, like where's our locals, but also did our vinyl mural program reach regionally as far as we would have liked it to? And all of that we think will build momentum, right? Because those are going to be up a couple years and people are going to see them and they're going to talk about them and they're going to be like, hey, did you see in Sandusky? And we can tell everybody, yeah, we're going to do another round of that and solicit some more submissions. So I'm happy to hear that you've got a broader network. And one of those things we talked about is like, could we have, Marcia mentioned some artists in California, or I mentioned the guy in Columbus. Could we have some artists talk to us? Could we pay artists to talk to us about how they are searching for places to submit to display their work? Or if there is potential, like how are we going to find who does the art for Columbus Avenue if we don't talk to some artists? So maybe there's like a lecture series that we do where we invite them in person on Teams to just give us a little talk during one of our regular scheduled meetings. It could be available to the public as well, and we just hear about an artist and their process, and that could be something that's really interesting. So I included a line item for that. So what I've got today, and this is how I facilitated it last time when we had our priority projects, and knowing that we didn't have like the big brainstorming that we did last year, because that's a good like every 3 or every 5 years thing to do. Let me walk you through what I've got in here. I put in a little small budget for the City Hall Gallery to continue just if we need supplies. We had $200 last year. We didn't really use it, but we might have to buy a longer wires or something. We might need a couple bucks to do that. An allocation for Columbus Avenue because we continue to save up for Columbus Avenue. I was suggesting that we add more art boxes because they're inexpensive and they get art out into the neighborhoods. And if we add 5 more to the ones we already budgeted, we'd have 10 total available for 2023, which would only be $2,500. We discussed the potential purchase of a Kedziora sculpture, so the hanging sculpture displays that are around town right now, there's definitely some interest in seeing if we could purchase one of, or several of those. And we learned from the group in Columbus how they went about getting this. They actually purchased 5 of those sculptures and negotiated a very reasonable fee for commissioning the artists to create those for them. So that there's a suggested line item in there. There was some early excitement about the sculpture of the Midwest Sculpture Initiative that's at Jackson Street Pier right now. I went and checked the price on that, and it's $5,200. So I threw that in there as something to discuss. We have historically considered an artist-led grant and never gotten a submission, but I think we should keep offering it because eventually somebody will take us up on it. Although if we didn't want to give it 10 grand, we could give it 5, and 5 grand is still a good chunk of money. We could cut that. And then I threw in the artist lecture series. So really this idea, and I could have maybe presented this without the numbers first, is just like, does this look about right for the list, knowing that we mostly want to continue to administer, we want to finish the vinyl mural program, get those 4 up, we want to redo the art, we want to continue with the art box project. We have a couple opportunities to maybe make a purchase of permanent art, and then really focus on Columbus Avenue next year as our primary objective. And let me show, because you're looking at a whole bunch of stuff. This is exactly how I structured it last year and in the, so I can walk you through everything else that's in here. So the vinyl mural program, we had budgeted $25,000 for it. It actually came in at around $12,000, so considerably less than we expected, which is exciting. We had budgeted for the art box program. And so you'll notice that we haven't paid out for that vinyl mural program. So these are budget items for the art box and vinyl mural program that we promised, so we'll need that money, so that's carryover. We right now have $128,000, and we are expecting to get $81,000 more. We held $50,000 back for Columbus Avenue in 2021. In 2022, we had budgeted $34,000 to hold back, but we also specified in the work plan that any unused funds would get added. So the total contribution for our Columbus Avenue fund for 2022 is $58,000, and that brings us, if we do allocate this, which this number is live, so if I change it, it'll change over here. If we allocate $34,000 in 2023, we'll have $92,000 total in our little Columbus Avenue savings account.
So that would be the accumulated with the past couple of years, what we saved.
Correct.
Not just from 2022.
Correct. So, and that's live, like if we change,
Yeah, sure.
if we change this, it'll repopulate
Yeah.
over here, so if we mess with those.
So-
So right now, I basically have us budgeted out to about what we've got to budget with. So we have $128,000 total today, minus all the things we've already promised, plus what's coming in, what we expect to come in, which Michelle Reeder told me is $81,000. So we have $87,000 to play with, basically, to budget out for 2023.
So perhaps it would be best to look at the big fish first and see, does that seem to make sense with what we budgeted for the bigger items? Because that will really determine how the rest of it falls in place. Like, does that seem like, do we need to get like an RFP or something like that from a design firm that's going to look at the Columbus Ave project? And is that going to be much more than we've kind of budgeted for in the future? So
It's a good
just
question.
Put it out there.
Yeah, one thing I'll note is that the Kedziora sculpture, so the individual prices of those, the rower, for example, is $52,000. A number of those are like $46,000. A few of them are like $28,000. And Columbus negotiated for 5, including the rower,
Right.
and they averaged out to $26,000 each, and
So
that's
there's
why.
cost savings in buying more of
Yes,
those, which makes
yes.
sense.
So that's why I budgeted 30, and really that could be if a group of other stakeholders get together to raise money and create funding to buy several of them, then our 30 can support their efforts, and we would have voice in however they conduct that. If nobody gathers in the community, we could decide to purchase one of the least expensive ones with this budget, so it's at least enough that we get, but I don't know which one of those it would be. We can figure that out. We have the temporary display until June, so we have some time on that. Columbus Avenue is basically like, I budgeted out everything that I think we talked about and then just put everything else in Columbus Ave. That was how I got to these numbers.
Yeah.
And
You're recommending we approve this budget?
I mean, I think this makes sense, and we can adjust it based on the needs for Columbus Avenue, unless you think there's anything on there that shouldn't be on there. Or if you want to
Yeah, I think it
reduce
all
the
makes sense
artist-led
to be on
grant
there. I
program.
think the one thing, maybe we want to put a caveat in there of leave room to adjust to accommodate for the Columbus Ave project, because, you know, I mean, who knows how substantial that could be.
Yeah.
So maybe leave room in the approval or whatever to say if we need to readjust because of the Columbus Ave stuff, it might be appropriate to consider.
Yeah, the consultant might be like 10,000, or
Yeah.
it might,
Could
but,
be.
and when we,
But
but
then
I don't know what that runs, but I'm assuming we're planning for like a $500,000 art piece that we're gonna have to
Right, so
do
once we get the
capital gain.
consultant, that means they're gonna tell us, make recommendations, but those recommendations could be 10 times what, you know, we put into it, so.
Can we have a chandelier?
Chandelier.
I love a chandelier.
There's definitely would not be 100% consensus on the arts commission.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
good idea.
It's a decoration.
How about a large duck?
I've got stuff, don't worry about it.
A chandelier duck.
So so I guess what we're doing is entertaining maybe a motion to approve this with the
I'd
asterisk
motion
of.
to approve.
Second?
All right, with the asterisk of considering the Columbus Ave project if it needs to change. All
Who
right,
seconded?
maybe we'll do a roll call, please, Kathy?
Marcia Carrington?
Yes.
Sean Daly?
Yes.
Robin Lloyd?
Yes.
Chris Parthemore?
Yes.
Jordan Sternberg?
Yes.
Is Martha live?
Thought I heard a
She
beep.
said it was cutting in and out and
Okay.
was spotty, so.
Okay. Blake Harris?
Yes.
Michelle Knoll?
Yes.
Aaron Blair?
Yes. Oops.
All right, sounds like the motion carries.
Okay, I'll draft
Thank you.
up our work plan. And that's not what I wanted to do.
Alrighty, is there any old business?
I already gave you an update on the vinyl murals. And then that's probably the only item of old business on my radar.
Great, thanks. New business?
I would like to invite this group, no shop talk, it's not a meeting. I'd like to invite this group to tour the theater and see what we're cooking up, so
Would love to see it.
if you can send out a doodle or something, coordinate a time,
Yeah.
doodle, give you all a little sneak peek.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that'd be
Chris.
great.
Heck, yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's getting exciting.
All right, anything else new business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
The apple does that.
So moved.
Go. Thanks, everyone. Good discussions today. Appreciate it.